Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Saturday, October 7th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Maryland game is today. The game against Michigan in 49 days. Only 7 weeks till the Michigan game. Boy, this season is flying along. Here we are in week 6. Buckeyes will be hosting Maryland at noon. That game will be on Fox. If you want to watch the pregame show, the big noon kickoff pregame show is coming up before that. Tony and Kevin and I will be there. We're covering the game. So there will be a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of stuff to learn about the Buckeyes as they face what could very well be the 4th best team in the Big Ten. But we talked about that on the Friday episode of the Buckeye Weekly podcast. So if you want an in-depth preview of that, you can find that there. Today, we're talking about all the other games happening today. Well, not all the other games, just the interesting ones. But there are some really interesting ones. Tony Gerdeman here to help me break down some of the big ones. And Tony, probably the biggest game of the week, Red River, noon on ABC, Oklahoma and Texas at the Texas State Fair in Dallas. The Longhorns only a 5.5-point favorite. And I've heard people talking themselves into Oklahoma all week. And I know this is a game where you get just shocked by results every once in a while. But I think I'm feeling the Longhorns in this one. What about you?
I'm trying to figure out why Oklahoma is only ranked number 12 and they're 5-0 and they're beating everybody by double digits. And for me, I think it's because we're not ready to believe in Brent Venables yet. Not necessarily ready to believe that Dylan Gabriel, their quarterback, is a guy that should be leading a playoff contender, a Power 5 playoff contender. But they're playing extremely well. The defense is doing okay. So I'm wondering if this is going to be one of those flip the scripts, where, like you said, I'm even looking at the matchup predictor on ESPN, and it's like 54.4% for Oklahoma. And that's a little surprising to me because everybody wants to believe in Texas and Quinn Ewers and, Jonathan Brooks, the running back, is having an outstanding season. I'm based on what I've seen so far this year, and I've seen more of Texas than Oklahoma. I need this game from Oklahoma to prove that we should start buying in, and I think everybody else does as well. So I'm with you. I'm going with Texas. I don't know about the 5.5 points or whatever it is, but this game just can randomly get really ugly like it did last year.
Yeah, it got real ugly in favor of Texas last year. I don't think you're going to see that this year. This Texas team feels different, and it's not just the woo, Texas is back woo that you've heard for the last 20 years in a row. This team, you just look at the line play with this Texas team, and it feels a little more real to me. This seems like a game where maybe Oklahoma struggles to run the ball a little bit. You get a little one-dimensional. And I think Texas might just be a little more well-rounded than Oklahoma is. So yeah, I would say Texas lay the 5.5, and then I'm saying that, and I'm now in my head picturing, wasn't it a Charlie Strong game where they were a massive underdog and won, and he's wearing the golden cowboy hat at the end, and yeah, maybe Red River is one of those stay away games no matter what. Here's another good one, Tony. LSU at Missouri at noon on ESPN. LSU still ranked for some reason. And also a 4-point favorite on the road. This is another one where if you look at the lines, I think you're favoring LSU. If you're looking at the Missouri passing game and what has happened to the LSU secondary at times this year, you can see why you might hit the Missouri money line. What are you looking at on this one?
I see two defenses that are going to give up some points, so I might be hitting that over of 65. But you look at Brady Cook, Missouri quarterback. I think he's thrown 11 touchdowns, no interceptions at this point. And LSU has talent, but they've been giving up some big plays. It'll be interesting to watch Luther Burden, their receiver. Ohio State fans may remember him from such recruitments as the ones that got away a few years back. But he's been outstanding this year already with 644 yards receiving. But I think Missouri is going to score, but I don't know how much they're going to be able to stop Jaden Daniels and the LSU offense. But Missouri's an undefeated SEC team, and that's not easy to do when you play the likes of Vanderbilt and Memphis and Kansas State and Middle Tennessee and South Dakota.
Yeah, I mean that's a brutal SEC schedule there. Two other teams that are going to be navigating the rigors of a brutal SEC schedule: Alabama at Texas A&M. This is the 3:30 CBS game. CBS swinging back down south for this week. Alabama just a 1-point favorite over Texas A&M, and this is a series the last couple of years. 2 years ago in College Station, A&M 41, Alabama 38. Last year in Tuscaloosa, Alabama 24, A&M 20. There's some bad blood. I'm sure people probably remember Jimbo and Nick Saban sniping at each other a little bit through the media a little while ago. That was last spring, I think. I mean, there's a little heat here, and everyone keeps talking about this as the most vulnerable Alabama team in forever, and everyone is sort of waiting for that second loss where then it's done and they are cooked, and then the Nick Saban era is over. I feel like, Tony, this is, it's a little Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, where it's like everyone is rushing to say, look, oh good, the Nick Saban era is dead. I saw it, I seen it, Tony, I seen it with my own eyes, and then Nick Saban rises out of the lake, and all of a sudden Alabama is, you have the Alabama elephant trumpet sound in their stadium, and the lights are flashing, and somehow they are back from the dead again. Does Jimbo Fisher drive a knife into the heart of the Nick Saban era today?
Maybe, but no. The defensive line that Texas A&M bought a couple years ago and just continued to pay for is doing pretty well right now, and they're averaging, as a defense, they're averaging like 10 tackles for loss per game. They're stopping the run well enough, 96 yards per game. And we have not seen a passing attack from Jalen Milroe just yet. So this seems like it's going to have to be one on the ground for Alabama. And that's going to be difficult for them if they can't also throw the ball. They're going to have to hit some big plays. You can count on Texas A&M to make some bad plays, some penalties, some costly plays like that. So that'll keep a drive alive. You just have to cash that drive in. I have trouble expecting Max Johnson, the quarterback for Texas A&M, to win this game without Connor Wegman, their normal starter. That dude's been around for too long, and when you've been around that long, I'm ready to move on from you. So I don't expect Max Johnson to be able to beat Alabama. It's going to take the Texas A&M defense is going to have to play a really good game, maybe get some turnovers, and I think it's going to be a low-scoring, close game. So at that point, anything can happen. But when anything can happen, I'm generally going to side on Nick Saban's line.
I remember last year there was a low-scoring close game elsewhere in the SEC, and it was when Georgia visited Kentucky. And this was one of the games that you and I reviewed heading into the Peach Bowl and kind of just went, ugh. And so we get the return game from that one this weekend. Kentucky at Georgia, 7 o'clock on ESPN. Dogs favored by 14.5. Georgia has been just a little underwhelming so far this season. They have not played great competition. They have not looked great against that not great competition. You have an unbeaten Kentucky coming in, so okay, maybe Kentucky's something, but Georgia being favored by 14.5, just I know teams have run. I mean, Auburn ran on Georgia last week. This just feels like this feels like the game where Georgia kind of puts it all together and pulls away from Kentucky a little bit. What are you seeing here?
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of those arm's length blowouts type of things where Kentucky it's close, but are they really challenging? Like, this is a Jim Tressel type of blowout. Devin Leary last week threw for 69 yards and a 19-point win over Florida, which is pretty crazy. The Kentucky quarterback, the former North Carolina State quarterback, and he's not really been what they've expected him to be at this point. What was it? Ray Davis went for 280 yards last week. The running back for Kentucky went for 280 yards against Florida. I'm going to predict he won't reach 200 in this one against Georgia. Go ahead and mark that down as a bold prediction. But yeah, I just don't think Kentucky has enough offense, and their best offense is on the ground, and that's generally where Georgia is okay defending.
Yeah, I think that this might be the week that reality sets in a little bit there for Kentucky. We'll keep an eye on that one. Also, Buckeye fans, I'm sure going to be keeping a close eye on their new second favorite team, Notre Dame. The Irish picked up a big win last weekend against Duke. Buckeyes are just want that nice shiny win on their playoff resume, and the more Notre Dame wins, the shinier that win gets. This weekend, they're taking it they're at Louisville, 7:30 on ABC. Notre Dame favored by 6.5 points. Tony, I saw the stat. I don't know. I'm guessing you saw this stat this week as well. Notre Dame has won its past 30 games against ACC opposition. I think it goes back to the 2017 Miami game or something like that. I saw that and thought, that can't possibly be right. And I think, in fact, it is right, which is wild. Does the streak continue this weekend?
Yeah, I think it does. Louisville is a ranked 25, but they've got a 5-point win over Georgia Tech, 7-point win over Indiana, 3-point win over North Carolina State. These are not, I think Maryland has maybe a better claim for being ranked in the top 25 than Louisville. So I'm not expecting a Louisville win in this one. Jack Plummer, the quarterback, has thrown 6 interceptions this season. You never quite know what you're going to get from him, and that was the case when he was way back at Purdue as well. So I think facing a pretty decent defense, then you have kind of a better idea of what you're going to get, and it's probably not going to be great. I think obviously Louisville would have to play their best game, and I just don't know that they're going to do that against their best opponent.
And I do want to clarify, I'm just looking through the Notre Dame schedule again, and they did lose to, it must be regular season games, because they did lose to Clemson in a playoff game, and they lost to Clemson in the ACC championship game the year that they were in the ACC. So a little bit of an asterisk there. But Tony, do you know what Notre Dame's record is in its last 5 games against the Big Ten?
Is it 0-5?
Oh, no. They played Purdue and Wisconsin in 2021. That was the Wisconsin game where it was 13-13, and then they won 41-13. It was 13-10 in the fourth quarter. Yeah. But yes, as far as I can tell, it is. I'm just sort of scrolling back here and going back to the Michigan game in 2019. It looks like they are 2-3 in their last 5 against the Big Ten. So why do they want to keep playing in the ACC? Tony, it's anyone's guess. But we will, it's anyone's guess which of these games will be the best today, but we will be keeping an eye on all of them, but of course keeping the closest eye on the Buckeyes and Maryland, kicking off at noon on Fox. We'll have our usual pregame coverage and postgame coverage at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle, so make sure you check us out there. It should be a lovely day, a very fall-feeling day in Ohio, and so it'll be a nice, the first real true, oh yeah, fall is here for real game as we start October and things start to get a little bit real in the college football world. So thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. Enjoy the football. We'll see you after the game.